Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into a company that just bought a thermal resort and spa. Sounds relaxing, right? Well, maybe not after we decode the paperwork. Pursuit Attractions and Hospitality just filed a report about buying a company that owns a resort in Costa Rica. In this video, we're going to focus on what this purchase means for the company's finances and what the risks might be. If you find it useful to have people going through corporate documents for you, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below where you can discuss the findings directly with other people. So on July 1, 2025, Pursuit Attractions and Hospitality Inc., which we'll just call Pursuit from now on, bought all the shares of a company called Inversiones Turísticas Arenal SA or ITA. ITA owns and runs the Tobacon Thermal Resort and Spa, which is in Arenal, Costa Rica. Think hot springs and fancy spa treatments. Basically, Pursuit bought a resort. The thing is, buying a company isn't as simple as buying a cup of coffee. There's a lot of legal and financial stuff involved. Pursuit paid $1 million in cash for ITA. That's a lot of money, but there are some adjustments that could change the final price. These adjustments have to do with things like how much debt ITA has, how much money they already owe for future bookings, their working capital, or how much money they need on hand, and money held back in case something goes wrong after the deal. Pursuit paid for this purchase by borrowing money from its credit line. The share purchase agreement, which is like the contract for the purchase, includes promises and guarantees from both Pursuit and ITA. These promises, called representations, warranties, and covenants, are basically assurances that everything is as it seems. But the agreement also has exceptions and limits to these promises. One important thing to note is that if Pursuit has to make a claim against the people who used to own ITA and something bad happens with that resort, there are limits on how much money Pursuit can get back. There are things like deductibles, which is the amount of money Pursuit has to pay themselves before they can claim anything. There are also caps which limit the total amount Pursuit can get back. These limits protect the previous owners of ITA, but they also mean Pursuit might have to eat some of the cost if things go wrong. Pursuit has filed the actual purchase agreement as an exhibit to this report. That's the contract we talked about a few sections ago. The company explains that it's providing this agreement to give investors information about the terms of the deal. However, the company mentions that you shouldn't use it as the only thing you look at. It might not be totally accurate as of today. Some of the terms might have been changed or added during the negotiations. And it shouldn't be used to change any facts or information the company has already shared in its public reports. The company also points out that some of the promises and guarantees in the purchase agreement are only for the purposes of the agreement itself. They might not be accurate or complete, and they might be subject to different standards than what the company usually uses in its official SEC filings. Sometimes the reason for including these promises and guarantees is just to decide who takes on the risk, rather than to say something is definitely a fact. The company also provided a copy of the share purchase agreement itself as an exhibit to this report. This way you can see every promise and all the fine print of the deal. However, the company also states that certain parts of the exhibit and attached schedules have been taken out to comply with SEC regulations. The company promises to furnish the SEC with complete documents on request. Also, it says, in accordance with SEC rules, some parts have been removed from the document. Company decided that this information isn't important to investors, and includes confidential company details and CV from now. Let's zoom out and think about what all this means. Pursuit Attractions and Hospitality is expanding its reach by acquiring a thermal resort and spa in Costa Rica. This move could bring new revenue streams and diversify the company's portfolio, but it also comes with risks. The company had to take on debt to finance the purchase, and it's relying on the promises and guarantees made by the previous owners of the resort. There are also limits on how much Pursuit can recover if those promises turn out to be false. This purchase adds complexity to Pursuit's operations and financial situation. The report was signed by Catherine Tam, Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary. Now let's talk about what this means. This acquisition represents a strategic move by Pursuit to broaden its offerings in the attractions and hospitality sector. Thermal resorts are growing as tourist locations because of their promise of relaxation and health benefits. This acquisition will bring good things as people continue to seek relaxation. However, we also need to acknowledge the risks and weaknesses. The company took on debt to make the purchase, meaning they can be limited by their debt payments. The company is now responsible for following all relevant regulations in Costa Rica too. This can be challenging as they must fully understand the legal and compliance. Also, they are now responsible for maintaining a resort during things like poor weather or other problems can become both expensive and time-consuming. Ostia and overall the company's direction seems positive with this purchase of a thermal resort. Alright, that's our breakdown of Pursuit Attractions and Hospitality's latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.